What's crack-a-lackin', everybody? Money Smart Guy Matt Sapaula here, hailing to you from Dallas, Texas. Back again for another episode here of the Seven Figure Squad podcast here with my co-host, Milton Alvarez. Episode 79, man. Almost at 80.
21 away from 100.
There you go. There you go. So, by the way, 20. But we figured by 100 episodes, we forgot what we're doing. But nonetheless, we appreciate you joining us here today. What a show we have ahead. Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. What does that mean? That's what June is all about to us. Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. A lot of people don't realize it's been going on since how long?
Since 1994, man.
1994. And so we're going to be talking about what that actually means, especially on the psyche of a man, especially in today's day and age. God's greatest gift. Have a quick little snippet here from one of our favorite pastors. We got a verdict reaction here from Trump. What does it mean that this former president of the United States raises 70-some plus $million in 48 hours post a felony conviction? You know, crazy. But a lot of people are reacting to that because first time in history ever a former president has ever been arrested, ever been, what do you call that, mugshotted, and now found guilty of, was it 34 felonies. A lot of people don't realize that long after Michael Jackson's death in 2009, his family estate is still dealing with issues from the IRS. Yes, Michael Jackson's children and mother are currently cut off from his trust fund due to a $700 million dispute between his estate and the IRS. And we're going to talk a little bit about inflation, our favorite topic, inflation. You won't believe what McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, and Taco Bell has done to raise their prices here in the midst of inflation. Does it go in congruence with the rise in federal minimum wage? Does it go in congruence with your budgets? How does that affect? And construction workers' reaction to inflation. So we got one heck of a show going ahead, man. So what an interesting week we've had so far.
Yeah, one thing led to another.
Since last Wednesday, a lot of things have happened in America. So Jordan, let's cue this clip here because this is what life is all about. Things were so much easier. Remember back in the day, things were just so much easier when you're in high school, junior, senior high school. Well, this is what happens when you start doing life. Let's take a look at this clip here about life being a juggling act.
Life made a lot of sense to me. I grew up in Seattle. I went to school. I majored in business. Now I'm a comedian. My parents are ticked. But there's so much stuff in school they didn't teach us in life. So I'm going to show you how life really goes down, what they do not teach us in school, right? You wake up into your world in about age 16. About age 16, you start saying to yourself, oh, I have to get a job one day. So I'm going to have to work real hard at a skill to make money. But you know what? I want to make a lot of money. So I'm going to work for years to become an expert at this skill. Then I get a relationship going. Now I have to keep the job going because she needs a lot of money. Yes. But now not only do I have to be an expert at my job, all of a sudden I have to be an expert at relationships. Woo. This is hard. Yes. She wants me to be masculine yet sensitive. I don't know if I'm supposed to be Richard Gere or Richard Simmons. Then we bought a house. Now I have to be a plumber, I have to be an electrician, I have to be a landscape artist, I have to be an expert at taxes. Now we have children. Now I'm a doctor.
Look at this guy.
Now I'm a doctor, I'm a mentor, I'm a theologian, and all of a sudden I hear from my wife, honey, I don't get enough attention. There is no time.
I mean, that's life, man. That's the complexity of being a man. It's the complexity of adulting. It's the complexity of adding responsibilities. Your thoughts on that?
But here's the thing, for me, a lot of men don't get prepared for that at a young age. They don't get that kind of exposure of the amount of responsibility that it takes to actually be a man. Yep. And unfortunately, a lot of men at a young age and even older age, they lose the battle to themselves, which is why I think this month is a very, very important month. Aside from other things that are being celebrated, I think this month is a month that many people didn't know existed. Yep. As Matt said in the beginning of the show, in 1994, it was put into observance, which was signed off by President Clinton. And it was an initiative that was sponsored by Senator Bob Dole at the time and Congressman Bill Richardson, which it was a Men's Health Week, and then it turned into a Men's Health Month in 1994 by Clinton. And that's the thing. Like for me, the first time that I heard about it was literally 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago because of one of my buddies from work. He lost a brother because of his mental health issues. And man, I wanted to just share some stats for the viewers.
Far away
On what we actually encounter on a daily basis.
Uh-huh.
So approximately, man, 38,000 men a year commit suicide in the United States. That's a little bit over 3.1K men per month. That's around 731 men per week. That's about around 104 men per day, which is roughly around four and a half men per hour. That men decide to take their lives because they can't find solutions to their problems. And the disorders that people have. There's over 6 million men that are suffering from a form of depression. There's over 3 million men in the United States who experience some form of panic attacks, anxiety attacks, or phobias, and they are diagnosed with anxiety disorders. There are over 2.3 million men who have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Over 3.5 million people in the U.S. have been diagnosed with schizophrenia, and 90% of those diagnosed by the age of 30 are men. And there are around 10% men nationwide that have some form of eating disorder, where they have some form of emotional attachment to the way they eat, to the way they binge. And for men are 4 times more likely to die by suicide than women. And there is less than half of men are experiencing some form of treatment, help, advice, guidance, mentorship when it comes down to this, because a lot of men don't know where to go, who to speak to, how to approach this, because there's a stigma that men don't know how to express their emotions because men shouldn't express their emotions. So I'm asking you, a man of faith, a husband, a businessman, a father of great children, they're already in their mid to late 20s, and then you have 2 young sons at home. Mm-hmm. How do you go about teaching your kids, especially the young men, about mental health and being able to express themselves?
You got to be able to, man. He's talking about juggling all those different things, right?
Yeah.
That's where you need associations, because you shouldn't. So some person should come alongside you and help you with those other things. For example, you got to be a theologian. You got to be a doctor. You got to be that. Bro, get a doctor.
Yeah.
Go find a pastor. You don't got to be a theologian. That's why associations and community is so important, because you think you got to do it alone. Notice that juggling act was all by himself. Yeah. It shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
You should have help. My wife's mental health. I want her freaking out about as many few things as possible, so she can focus in on being a mother. I need to focus in on being a father. I can't. For me, my mental health is not mowing the lawn. Some guys, that's their mental health. My mental health is working out with you.
Yeah.
Getting that hour of dealing with pain. My favorite hour of the day is looking forward to a workout, because I can have an outlet. So if as a man you don't have an outlet, and by the way, the first outlet is your prayer life. That's why you need to be attached to something greater than yourself. It just can't be you. That's why my book is Faith Made Millionaire. It's not Self-Made Millionaire, because it's all about me. It can't be all about me. The whole saying, I'm going to do me, I'm going to do me.
Yeah.
Well, you is not enough. You got to be created and connected to something, to a power greater than you. And some people say, well, let me serve my family, let me serve my team. Great, that's another great outlet, but they too are limited. That's why, and my thing is, that's why faith came in. When I read the Bible, this to me is a playbook of things that have been, that are currently having parallels to what is going on today and tomorrow. And I define a value system, a moral system, a principle system that allows me to get to those things. And to have that prayer life, to have that faith life, helps me process through a lot of things, because if I saw that's the way that Abraham handled things, if I saw that's the way that Solomon handled things, if I saw that's the way that David handled things, if I saw that's the way that Mark and Luke and the apostles, the way Jesus handled things, well, shoot, man, then I just got to follow that path. And it would never been a path that I would have thought of by myself.
Do you think the 18, 19-year-old version of you, if the 50-year-old version of you right now were to speak to the 18, 19-year-old version of Matt, do you think that Matt would have gotten offended or ran with the advice that you're giving him right now?
Listen, one of the things, yeah, because that 18-year-old Matt would at least was, the 18-year-old version of me was searching for somebody. Yeah. I just don't know who it actually was. And so if the 18-year-old, 19-year-old Matt was legitimately searching, and that's why in my book I talk about why this petty officer, first class, came to me before I was deploying to Somalia, Africa, and says, listen, if you weren't going to come home tonight, do you know where you'd end up? The only reason I paid attention to him, because most Marines don't pay attention to Navy sailors on a Navy ship. Like, bro, CB, get out my face. Right? Seaman, get out my face. You know, Swabby, get out of my face. But I didn't look at him like a Navy guy. I looked at him as a man. I looked at him as a man of God. And I was open to that conversation, and that's why I was open to it. Even though I was very prideful, even though I was very egotistical, I was, very high strung on what I had to individually accomplish. But I think for most part, I think most people, as much as they play tough butt, there's something inside them. I think we're wired a certain way. I don't know if it's our DNA or just the way our energy systems are wired. Most people want to hear that they are worth something, that they are somebody, they're made for something greater than just themselves. That they're built here for a purpose, they're built here for a reason. They got dreams and goals and hopes that's not necessarily theirs, but been inspired by them, but they know where it comes from. I think most men and women have that wiring, and then once they're guided towards that, once they get past the pride, once they get past the ego, they can see what the God kind of plan they have for their life. I think that's when they start asking even better quality questions.
So from everything you're saying to me, I hear you had vision. You had vision of what you feel that you were meant to do, where you were meant to go.
I had a feeling. It wasn't a vision.
Yeah.
Because to me, I mean, we were talking about earlier in preparation for the show, the difference between short term and long term, right?
Yeah.
So I was very short term.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it for what? I don't know. Until you're around a coach, until you're around a mentor that can crack open that lid and they can see a vision of what those talents and dreams and goals and aspirations are really meant for.
Yeah. And for the viewers, men, women, but directly right now for the young men or the older men who are struggling with their identity, struggling with what direction you feel life is taking you. You can't allow the current circumstances to dictate which way you're headed, because there's a difference between having sight and having vision of where you're headed. Like Matt said, he had a feeling. People have a feeling like, I know I'm not meant to be here, but my current circumstances overruling and overpowering my thought process. But here's a beautiful thing. We're all given a great, beautiful gift. And that gift is within us. And that gift is something that God has placed inside of each and every single one of you that will give you the direction that you need to know which way you're headed, as long as you tap into that gift. And Jordan, if we can pull up that video that Miles Monroe spoke about, God's greatest gift.
This is the greatest gift of God to man.
The greatest gift God ever gave man is not the gift of sight, but the gift of vision. Why? Because the enemy of vision is sight. Sight is a function of the eyes, but vision is a function of the heart. Never trust your eyes over your vision. Vision shows you what could be. Sight shows you what is. Always live by what you see with your vision, not with your eyes. The Bible says we walk by faith and not by sight.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a proverb that I want to be able to read you guys. Proverbs 20:12. Vision, then, like love and wisdom, is not something to be lost, but the constant gift of God to be fully utilized. And knowing that each and every single one of you guys has a vision within them. You're just scared to take initiative, scared to take that step, and scared to step into the responsibility, because you know that vision comes with immense responsibility. Because each of us, especially the men, have been placed on this earth with a massive amount of responsibility to do something to move our society forward for the future generations. And here's 4 things for each and every single man watching this today. There's 4 things that I want you to get. Number 1, I want you to be able to get clear. And the way you get clear is to pray for discernment. Number 2 is to be able to get certain, pray for conviction. Number 3 is to get excited because you know you have a calling over your life, so pray for direction. And the 4th one is to be able to get committed and pray for maturity, because you need discernment, conviction, direction, and maturity to know which way you're headed in life, and not allow the negative thoughts that are flowing into your head on a consistent basis, the negative network that you have, to make you believe that you're not worth anything.
Man, that's awesome. I like to add on to that. Yeah. Because sometimes a lot of men feel that it's their crew, their entourage that makes it, right? Like we got to react to this one video because what's this guy named? Vlad was interviewing Michael Vick. Michael Vick was the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons, Eagles, and sadly his career got derailed because he got caught up in dogfighting. But man, Michael Vick, when he was playing at the peak of his career, unbelievable talent. He was like the Michael Jordan of the NFL. But anyway, make a long story short, the reason I want to summarize his interview is like, listen, I don't care about money. He goes, I don't care about money. I care about, loyalty. I care about, camaraderie. But he's got nothing to show for.
Yeah.
And Vlad's like, yo, dog, that's why he got no money. And by the way, a lot of people in the comments were disagreeing with Vlad because that's because Vlad's Jewish and or Michael Vick, you don't understand the hood. And, listen, Proverbs 18:24 says, a man of many companions may come to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. So it's not necessarily an entourage or a group of companions. It's that one or two or three guys and gals that you call actually friend. And I believe a man to man should be man to man.
Correct.
Girls, it should be girl to girl. I've never seen a very fruitful man to girl friendship because of the difference of how we're created. Because eventually, over time, it's no longer going to be man and woman friendship. It's getting men and women smashing. Yeah. Right? It's the wrong direction. But when men have a friend or friends, and if you can put them in maybe less than one hand, and those are solid ride or dies for the next 5, 10, 50, 20 years, and you're willing to go through some stuff, and you're able to handle some stuff together and stick together, that's a friend. Like, oftentimes our folks that we're starting off in business,
sure,
they have the top 25 list or top 100 list. These are my friends and my family. Next thing you know, we start making calls, and we start inviting them to workshops, and we start asking them to support their family and friend in their new endeavor. And their friends start, it's okay, man. I'm good. They're at the birthday parties. They're at the barbecues. When it comes to support them in a new business endeavor, not so much. So they weren't really what? That weren't really friends. And then that individual has to say, wait a minute, you're my friend for the last 20 years. And now you can't even support me. I don't know if this business works. Bro, it's not the business that doesn't work. I don't know if your friendship actually worked to begin with.
Yeah.
And sometimes through entrepreneurship, you're going to find who your companions are, your acquaintances are, and who your friends are. I always say this at our workshops. Your relatives is what your DNA connects you to. So your DNA connects you to your cousins, your mom and dad, your brother and sister. That's who your DNA is, your relatives. But your family is who believes in you. And there's a big difference between relatives and family. And long term, you got to figure out what you're going to have around you. And hopefully it's people around you that push you, that guide you. And by the way, here's another clip I'm going to share with you of what this guy, without guidance, without mentorship, what he feels a alpha male is all about. We got that clip, Jordan?
How old are you?
I'm 42.
What's the biggest issue you run into with dating women in Miami?
Man, I say the two B's, man, beautiful and broke. These women think because they bad, that give them access to a top-level individual like me. They should be banished and thrown in the moat with the crocodiles.
What do you have to offer a woman?
Everything she could want and need and dream of. You gotta understand, sir. I'm 6'6", 230, right?
Wait, hold on. Pause right there. Pause right there, Jordan.
No home.
Okay, this part. So he says I'm 6'6", whatever the case may be, no kids, never married. So it sounds like he's square, 42 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, looks like he's got his life put together. He's been protecting his current life for that woman he's gonna build a life with, right?
Sure.
He's bringing no baggage.
Sure.
But bringing a lot of financial resources and status, I would say, to any woman that come in a relationship. So let's continue with this, Jordan.
Homo sapien, no Diddy, whatever you want to call it. And on that top of that, no kids, never drunk alcohol. So they got to come with something that's going to shock my core to make me be like, damn, she's the one. Because I'm dropping big dog dick in that pussy.
Well, hold on.
Here's where it goes
How
left.
would a woman know that you're going to drop a 10-incher on her if she hasn't even gotten to the bedroom with you?
I mean, in the day, you're going to see the way I walk. You're going to see the way I talk. She know I'm coming with that BDE. That's that best dick ever. She ain't going to never get nothing bigger and better than this, and she knows it. It's uncompromisable greatness here. I am a super Negro. There's no more of me. I'm one of the ones.
So how does a super Negro of sorts please a woman in the bedroom?
Not of sorts, sir. I don't like how you threw that in there. I please her by allowing her to allow me to please myself, all within her, around her, inside her, on her face and everything like that. I want to paint her face like Basquiat. They like that. You got to get her nasty, brother. Toss my salad, baby. Lick them balls. You understand me? Eat that gooch up. I need everything done to me, baby. I'm going to treat you accordingly as well.
All right.
Not an alpha male nowadays.
All right, Bob, coming from him, I mean, he believes it though, bro. Alpha male. I got to say this though. At one point, I thought that was a definition of an alpha male.
Okay.
I was that guy.
Yeah.
At one point, to my reflection of my life, that I thought an alpha male is your sexual prowess, your ability to please, your ability to do that stuff. This is life pre-Christ, obviously.
Yeah.
But after you mature, after you have your own family, start having your kids, and you're trying to teach the better morals and values to your children, you realize that that is a very immature way of looking at what a alpha male is all about. Now, for those of you watching this, ladies, men, for those of you watching this, whether you're live or live chat or on the comments, what's your thoughts? Is that an example of an alpha male? Is that an example of somebody that you're proud to say your daughter brings home to meet you? You're the father. You're proud that your daughter brought a man like that to meet you. And then you go on and you go do a bit of research and see what this guy is all about. Would you be proud as a dad to have his daughter be there and introduce you to that type of guy?
How would you feel if your daughter brought that guy home?
Oh, heck no.
No.
I sniff him out in a heartbeat. I pull him to the side.
Just from the way he looks and maybe like the first 2 sentences, what's his telltale sign? Like, hell no, I'm not letting this guy stick around.
I mean, in terms of what would I say to him if I was in him? I said, listen, man, I don't know what you got going on, but I just want to let you know you're not right for my daughter. I've raised my daughter to be smarter, more intentional, to understand the values and principles we stand for. My friend, you don't fit that mix. So unless you try to do something to change my mind, this is my perception and the way I'm going to look at you, because I used to be you, dude. I used to be you. And I changed my ways around. And I don't think right now I'd bless anything about your relationship with me and my daughter. I'm looking out for her. I'm looking out for her best interest, not you. You're far second, even third, not even another breath of worry to me. I worry about that girl. That's my daughter.
Yeah, everyone in the live chat agrees with you. Every single person who voted is absolutely no, not at all. Immature for sure. He was too extra.
I mean, he started right. I'm 42 years old. Look at my right. But it went straight downhill after that. You know, it's that's not the way a man is an alpha male.
I think when you're an alpha male, you don't have to announce you're an alpha male.
No.
You just are.
That's right.
You just are.
Guys and gals that have to say they're alpha usually aren't alpha. Yeah. They're the beta.
Yeah.
And or you know, if you find yourself, and I reference this, you know, how do you find a way for you to be, you know, in a position where you're finding that God kind of woman that you need to attract to your life? I reference Proverbs 31 here all the time, a wife of noble character. Now, if you're going to attract a wife of noble character, you as a man have to be a man of noble character. And if you read Proverbs 31, we don't have time to go through it right now, but if you go through Proverbs 31, you're going to find out what that man does, what that king does, where he sits amongst, to be able to attract a woman of noble character. That's my prayer to anybody watching this podcast, live or on replay, is that you follow the values and principles of character. Because beauty, man, I'll tell you this, even though my wife and I have been together for 12 years, she's getting more and more and more beautiful to me, even though we have some of the biggest arguments ever, and we have some of the most biggest conflicts ever. My wife becomes more and more, I appreciate her more. Like the way I appreciate my wife, I value my wife, brings out even more beauty in her, even though she's getting older. So what? She's talking about, babe, I'm pushing 38, 39. I'm looking at her like I first met her. The way I visualize my wife is the one I met her when she was, what does it say? She's the bride of my youth.
Yeah.
You know, and I look at her in that way. But it's not an alpha male, everybody. It's not alpha male. All right, let's talk about the Trump verdict reaction. So, let me see here. A lot of craziness happened here. I'm not going to talk about the Trump verdict reaction. What I want to do is I want to bring on a buddy of mine who is known in the world as David Harris Jr. I'm going to give him a call here. And I want him to provide his reaction to what's going on with Trump. If you follow David Harris Jr., he's got his new show on Newsmax right now. Very proud of him and what he's doing in terms of elevating his career. Formerly of Northern California. Bro, this brother was addicted to crack. I mean, this guy had a horrible, horrible experience with addiction. Anyway, make a long story short, God has restored him of that. Jesus restored him of that. Now he's a public figure, father, keynote author, host of The Pulse on Newsmax. So let's give David Harris Jr. here a call to see what his reaction is on this whole Trump verdict. I'm going to talk about the financial aspect of it, but I want David here to talk about.
Hello,
David.
Yes, sir.
What's up,
my brother?
my man? How you doing? I'm here with Milton on the Seven Figure Squad podcast, man. Appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely. Honored to be on with you, Matt. Thanks, brother.
100%, man. So you have a new T-shirt out that says you're voting for a convicted felon.
Yes, I do, baby. I do. It's got the little bubble next to Joe Biden, and it's got the little bubble next to convicted felon, and that's circled in. That's who I'm voting for, and I'm letting everybody know everywhere I go. And the response has been great. It's a conversation starter. It's why I wear my T-shirts. It gets people talking. I had one lady yesterday say to me, I like your shirt. I almost didn't know if I wanted to say anything.
Wow.
That's exactly why I wear it, and that's exactly what we need to do. Is we got to talk more openly about what's going on in our country before it's too late. So that's why I do it. That's why I wear them. Thanks for the plug. Everybody can check it out at lovethatmerch.com. Lovethatmerch.com. But yeah, it's selling like crazy.
So David Harris Jr., if you don't recognize his name, he's got this key phrase. Are you kidding me? David, you got to break it down, bro.
Are you kidding me? Yeah, that's become. I actually have my new show on Newsmax 2. You can get the Newsmax app just like Netflix, and I'm live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, the primetime slot. We're the #1 show on Newsmax 2, and I actually have a new little segment where it's an "Are you kidding me?" segment. That's
it's awesome
during the week. But yeah, there's a lot of things that make you say that, man, and ultimately we just got to wake people up.
So what was your initial reaction? I mean, what was your what's going down? They upgraded his misdemeanor charges to felony charges, and Alvin Bragg here is doing his thing. His big whole campaign was to take down Trump. So you're the political expert here. You're the political commentator here. What's your thoughts here when this happened last Thursday, Friday?
Well, Matt, leading up to it, they've been going for this. They've been planning. They've been trying to do, and I mean the left, the progressive Democrats, and everybody with Trump derangement syndrome. It's like, he's out of office. He's been out of office for 3.5 years, yet everything is still his fault. Joe, even yesterday when he's like, I'm going to go actually, do what the Republicans, in the Senate didn't do and secure the border. No, Joe, you're lying. You rescinded so many of Trump's stay in Mexico policy, remain in Mexico policy. He rescinded so many of Trump's policies that gave us the most secure border that we've had in decades. And it's just not me talking about it. I've got the heads of Border Patrol Association that are on my show regularly talking about it. It's like, it was solid. Yeah. But everything's either still Trump's fault or the Republicans' fault. So he is the threat to the Democrat machine that wants to, I believe, usher in socialism. They want us to be the USSA, United Socialist States of America. They want our freedoms to be granted to us by the government, not by the Constitution. Just like we saw during the pandemic, they want to be able to restrict and rescind our rights, our God-given freedoms. They want to control, what we can do, where we can go, if we can go to work or go to a school without being forced to take an experimental toxin in our bodies. They want to control us, and that's their agenda, and it's very, very clear. So, and then Trump, he said it from the beginning. They're not coming after me, they're coming after you. I'm just in the way. Mm-hmm. He's standing in the way of them completely destroying the fabric of freedom in this country, which is the last beacon of hope for the world. There's no other country in the world like ours. We are blessed to be able to live and be a part of this country, but they want to change it. And so he's the one standing in the way. So, I was hopeful that there was going to be one jury, just one. All it would take was one.
One, yep. Reasonable doubt.
But the judge, yeah, that's it. But the judge stacked the deck in such an unprecedented manner, literally giving the jurors a menu. You don't even have to agree on what crime you think Trump did. As long as you just think he committed one of these dozen crimes, however many it was, then you can just say guilty. He completely stacked the deck against President Trump, and Trump knew it. I had Ken Paxton on my show. I had several people on my show that were in the courtroom. Bernie Carrick that was in the courtroom with Trump, and the whole trial was just a complete circus. The judge would object to any form of objection from Trump's attorneys. They couldn't object. It was sustained immediately. So they just sat there. They couldn't even say anything. They just sat there and let happen, whatever was going to happen. And they had to be quiet and just take it. And then, and the other thing with the jury is all they were hearing from was the New York Times. I guess that was the only kind of news publication that they could hear from or read. So they didn't know the facts, even though it seemed to me very, very clear. It's like the whole hush money, issue. It's not even illegal. It's not even an illegal thing. They're trying to say, well, you didn't classify it as this. You classified it as a business expense. It's like there was no crime, and yet they trumped up 34 felony counts against a former president of the United States. Absolutely unprecedented in American history. But here's what I know. I believe it's a spiritual battle.
Yes.
And I believe that the enemy, he does not have foresight. He thinks he knows how to win, but he's nothing compared to God.
Yeah, man.
And we're on God's side. We're on the side of truth, justice, righteousness. And God loves this country. The foundation of this country has Judeo-Christian values that honor the Bible, honor the God of the Bible, throughout our Constitution, throughout the Declaration. So we're on the side of truth, and the enemy thinks he has a plan. But how many do you know? How many of you know, Matt, that when the enemy thinks he's won is when he's really just digging his own grave?
That's right.
So it was disappointing. Right. It was disheartening. But at the end of the day, we saw the response. We didn't go riot. Trump supporters didn't go riot. And in the 48 hours after the verdict, Trump crushed a campaign donation record with over 2 million individual donations of $70 or less. Raised over $140 million in 48 hours. Over 300 million now. And it's waking so many people up to say, this is absolutely partisan.
Yep.
This should not be happening in America.
Yep.
The Matthew Colangelo, the third guy at the DOJ, who was working for Letitia James' office in New York, going after Trump, then goes to work for Biden's DOJ, and then leaves in 2022 to go work at this very in this very district so that they could start this case against Trump.
Jordan.
It's Biden behind it all the way. And it's political opposition. It's the persecution of a political opponent, the leading front runner for the Republican ticket against a current Democratic president. It shouldn't be happening, but you know what? Thank God that it is, because it's waking people up like never before, Matt.
And the craziest part there, I just put this up on the screen while you were talking. A lot of billionaires that weren't normally supporting Trump are now flipping on the side. You know, you got Chamath, who's hosting a fundraiser in San Francisco for Trump. You got Bill Ackman. You got CEO of Blackstone, Schwartzman, who previously distanced himself from Trump, now rallying to his side to support. So some even folks on Wall Street who don't normally like the guy are seeing, hey, listen, if they can do that, simple thing you just said, if they can do it to a former president of the United States, man, we're next, man. We're next. We're easily in the target.
That's exactly right. Yeah, there's nobody that's off limits. If they can do that and get away with it, there's nobody that's off limits. They will railroad every single individual, no matter who you are, that gets in their way. Yep. And their way and their agenda is power and control. That's all they want.
That's it. David, man, I appreciate you jumping on the show here, providing some insight, and make sure you follow David's show here on Newsmax. Super proud of you, big dog. I can't wait to come back to Dallas again, but super proud of you being on the Newsmax too, the Pulse, and make sure you check out David.
Get the app on your phone, iPad, TV, just like Netflix. It's free Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. I bring the heat, I bring the truth, and we need more people talking to family members and friends that are still watching MSNBC, CNN, ABC. They're drinking that propaganda Kool-Aid. Those networks are not telling the whole truth. Yeah. I challenge people. I say, look, that's fine if you want to keep watching them, but at least watch a couple other shows. Yeah. Go watch The Pulse on Newsmax and or watch anything else on Newsmax. Just give yourself an option to see what the other side is saying, and then do your own research. Come to your own conclusion, but at least don't just be so fed in one direction from one side. Right. That's all you know, because then you don't even know you're being deceived. So that's what I'm all about.
God bless you, brother, man. Appreciate your availability, man. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Matt. God bless, brother.
All right, bro.
Bye-bye.
Steve J., what's your thoughts on that?
Bro, that was just a lot to unpack for me. I'm speaking from more of a viewer's perspective on not ever really being involved in politics. And now seeing this, and obviously, man, you know, anyone from being teenage years to the people who are in their late years who are on social media, they see this back and forth between the blue and the red, Democrats and Republicans, Trump and Biden, Trump and Biden, Trump and Biden. In your position, from where you were as a young guy to now in your 50s, successful man, what should people be paying attention to in these moments of news when it comes down to these specific political moves that are starting to happen?
Remember at the beginning of the podcast, we talked about the juggling act?
Sure.
I think when you by yourself, you don't really care about politics.
Yeah.
But when you get married,
Yeah.
now you're responsible for a house, you're responsible for your kids, and they're trying to pass on some good values and virtues to your children. And then you start building a career, start paying taxes, you start getting involved a little bit more in community, you start maturing. Then you start seeing how these policies actually affect your life. So, Plato once said, one of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed. Like somebody rules over you.
Yeah.
And you're governed by your inferiors.
Yeah.
I mean, look at right now. Do you honestly think that the President of the United States is a coherent leader?
Not at all.
Who can't even put together a sentence?
Not at all.
Who's reading a teleprompter, and so he reads his things and he says, pause, pause, pause.
Yeah.
Bro, that's what's in. He's reading the teleprompter so verbatim.
Yeah.
He reads the pause marks inside the teleprompter.
Yeah.
He can't care. The diabolical smile that he had after he did his press conference, and what do you think about Trump? Blah blah blah. This. He turns around and gives a diabolical smile, just smiles at the camera, just walk. That was an evil look.
Yeah.
And so when you're looking at a leader, you're looking at somebody who's going to be working on your behalf. And here's the narrative now: convicted felon, convicted felon, convicted felon. You can tick easily on both sides. Patrick always said this to us: hang around both sides of the conversation. Gather, like what Dave said, gather information, research, put it through your own filter of values and principles, so you can start thinking for yourself. Don't just say yes because of this network or this podcast. Formulate your own opinion and process it through what you feel is right. And so the only thing I would say this, comment on this one. He raised $141 million in May, which is more money he raised in the last 6 months. $53 million in 24 hours post-verdict, $71 million in 48 hours post-verdict. Of 2 million contributors, $70, $5 or less, which means that people out there are getting out the woodwork. They're starting to see the crap that's going on behind closed doors, in open court, what's going on in powers that be. And people are saying, listen, this is not the country I was raised in. This is not the country I want to build and live in. This is not the country I want to be ruled by. I want to live and have freedom in this country. And if we keep going this route, and you can't have open discourse and dialogue. And listen, capitalism always allows the market to dictate what demands are within their money and action. So 2 million people said with their money and actions, I got to support this guy somehow, some way. These billionaires are coming out to work and say, I need to support this guy somehow, some way, because I don't like necessarily what's going on with Trump. It's not about that, but I don't like what's going on with America. And if people are worrying about what's going on with our country, you want to build a business, you want to build a family. This is our home. You got family here, you got siblings, you got your mom here, got my family here. And I want to build here I don't want to look at another country. This is home. This is a country I served in the military in. This is a country I've built a family in. I want to take care of home. So what's your thoughts? I'd love to know your thoughts, your comments on what's going on with Trump here. Please put in the comment section below. Speaking of children, Michael Jackson's children and his mother are currently cut off from his trust fund due to a $700 million dispute between Jackson's estate and the IRS. Now, we're going to cue to a video, but I covered this when he sadly passed away in June of 2009 because he didn't have a proper will. He didn't have life insurance. He didn't have a proper trust for estate planning for his family. He may have had the right trusts for business, but not the right trusts for estate planning and passing on his wealth that he built in his generation to his kids' generation. You want to cue that video to that minute marker?
You have another tip here that something that Michael actually did right. It says invest and reinvest your profits to buy assets. You said off of his bad
This is 2009.
album. What did he do with the money he made off of that?
One of the greatest investments he had, which is one of his greatest assets that he owns today, he used $47.5 million to purchase ATV Music in 1985. 10 years later, Sony comes to him with a merger deal and says, listen, Michael, we want to merge together with your John Lennon and Paul McCartney and Beatles albums, together our Sony album and create Sony ATV Music. They pay him $150 million to sweeten the deal, which he did. Today, that asset is worth anywhere from $390 million to $1 billion. So good job with Mike on that.
So for us, are you saying what? When you have some money laying around, reinvest it into what?
Absolutely, and an asset that will bring you...
Okay, cool. So he took his money from the bad album and bought basically the Beatles albums, the Beatles catalog, the Jonas Brothers. He owns his masters. So because he owns these things, this is still creating residual income to his trust, his ownership of it. But sadly, Milton, when you die, you plan on dying with a lot of money?
For myself?
Yeah.
No. Giving it away.
Oh, is
Like,
that
to leave something behind? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you plan on leaving behind a lot of money to your
Yes,
family? Okay.
100%, yes.
So if you don't leave behind a lot of money to your kids and put it in the right legal boxes,
Yeah.
guess who comes in?
The IRS.
IRS comes in.
Yeah.
And sadly, that's what happened to Michael. So if we can go to my screen here, Jordan, the dispute began following an IRS audit of his estate federal tax return. What's an estate federal tax return? When you file, when you pass away, you got to file what they call a 706 form. Currently, right now in 2024, the estate tax credit limit is 13.16 million. So in other words, Milton, if you have $10 million of net worth, your business worth $10 million, and say you pass away, you can pass on to your beneficiaries without the IRS or the estate taxes being imposed.
Yeah.
But back then, in 2009 when he passed away, the estate tax credit limit was 3.5 million. So he's worth, $300 million to $1 billion with his ownership in Sony ATV. So he had to file a 706 form. Says, "Man, I'm wealthy, I'm rich." His executors of his estate had to file that. But back to the screen here, the estate disputed those findings and won a trial in tax court in 2001. However, they have since filed a motion for reconsideration in regards to the court's value of his music catalog, and that is Minnect, owned by Sony Music, which is still pending. So during the pandemic, there's a lawsuit that he won, a ruling. So in the meantime, these penalties, these taxes, this is called the rich man's tax. This is what a lot of people want to do to rich people. They want to break up wealth and disperse it back to the government.
Yeah.
So the government can send it, hopefully, to everybody else.
Sure.
Right? And so his death tax, once you die, he filled out that 706 form. And sadly, he got to owe a lot of tax. And guess how much taxes you have to owe on anything above the estate tax credit limit?
How much?
40%.
40% taxes.
Yeah, for example, let me put it in layman's terms. We can take the screen off. Let me put it in layman's terms. Let's say right now the estate tax credit is 13.16 million. Okay, let's say, Milton, you die with $23 million.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 13.16 is the credit. So anything above that credit is estate taxable.
Yeah.
So let's say 10 million. So of the 10 million that's estate taxable, you've got to pay 40% of that in taxes. That's 4 million.
Yeah. That's a big chunk, man.
It's a big chunk of money.
It's a big chunk of money.
So the question for Michael Jackson and anybody, we have this conversation a lot with real estate investors, is that they got all this money inside real estate, 20, 30, 40, 50 million dollars trapped in real estate, but it's illiquid. Or they got it trapped in a business. It's illiquid unless the business sells, or in this case, unless his family sells his ownership in MyJack Records or Sony ATV Music, then money is still illiquid.
Yeah.
So they got to do one of two things. They got to take a loan against that asset and pay off the IRS and still pay back the loan. Or they sell a portion of the asset to pay off the IRS.
Yeah.
So right now, the IRS is on Michael Jackson's back.
Let me ask this ignorant question on behalf of people who are still trying to figure out, the means of this. If his passing away happened, you said 09, correct?
09. 15 years ago.
15 years ago. Why is it that it's barely starting to happen now?
Because there's been motions and motions and motions. So you have I believe 8-9 months. You have 9 months after you die to pay your estate tax. Then you can file an extension up to 6 months. Well, this has been continuing to happen the last 15 years. So meanwhile, the penalties and taxes still accrue. So they're going. So the family's going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. This could be solved by one thing, bro. This could be solved by one thing: purchasing a life insurance policy and put it inside an irrevocable life insurance trust. So the time that Michael passes away, that life insurance policy pays to this trust the amount that he would owe in taxes, and he pays off the IRS and shut up IRS and get away from the rest of my life. Because what's going on right now is that once you get caught up in IRS court, the trust of what you set up, the protection, remember, trust is privacy. Like I can pass on my wealth to him. We don't know what's inside the Rockefeller Trust.
Yeah.
Because it's private and it's never been subject to probate court. Remember, probate court is a government court that says what you owe and what you owe the government in terms of estate taxes. You're a rich guy.
Yeah.
Right? But once, you know this with anything, any discovery ordered by any court is now public record.
Yeah.
So now Michael Jackson's estate is now public record. That's why we're finding out all about these different things. So now we find out that his money is really, remember, he only died with $700,000 of cash.
Yeah.
That's it. The king of pop.
Yeah.
$700,000. It's like you dying with $40 in your wallet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So $700,000, and he had a relationship with people in Saudi Arabia, had relationship with people all over the world they had lent money from, but sadly passed away. And by the way, even if he could potentially go for a life insurance strategy, I don't know if he would even qualify based on some of the drugs that he was taking and some of the things he was under. You know, so that's the downside to where he was at. But nonetheless, you have to have some form of money set aside, an asset or strategy set aside, so therefore you can be done in with the IRS in terms of what you own in terms of estate tax. Because here's the thing: the last time the IRS is ever going to hit Michael Jackson's estate is right now. Yeah, they can't get him after he's no longer living. They can get him after income tax. Yeah. So the only thing they can get after him right now is his estate, his wealth. In this case, almost $1 billion, $750 million in taxes and penalties. Meanwhile, guess who doesn't get money? His kids
and his mother.
Nor his mother.
What's the number that you need to be able to hit? I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm asking this correctly, whether it's monthly or yearly or raw in the span of 5-10 years that you need to be making in order for you to be considered that rich person to be able to get that kind of tax, estate tax.
No, well, right now, anything that your net worth, what your business is worth, your house is worth, what your life insurance that's not inside an irrevocable trust is worth, what your retirement planning accounts are, your equipment, any valuables, gold, collectibles, artwork. If that adds up right now, let's say in 2024, if that adds up to more than $13.16 million, now you're subject then to estate taxes. Starts with an E, estate, not state, estate taxes. Yeah, estate taxes. So sadly, the Trump Cuts Jobs Act bumped up this estate tax credit when in 2017. Guess what? In 2025, it goes back down to $6-7 million. So if you're investing in real estate, you're investing in businesses, and your net worth, cumulative with ownership, all that, if it's all in your individual name, and that adds up to your net worth, then you're going to be subject to estate tax. We sold a $23 million policy one time to a $50 million real estate portfolio owner. We sold him a 23. It was the largest policy ever sold in the history of PHP. And by the way, all we did was move $2 million from a non-performing, low-performing Merrill Lynch money market account into a trust, which pays a life insurance policy every year, the premium. Yeah. So therefore, the 74-year-old investor, property owner, would have money in an irrevocable life insurance trust to pay off the IRS after he fills out the 706 form. Yeah. Because he didn't want to have his sons liquidate any of the other properties that he's built his 30, 40, 50-year career of real estate investing. Yeah. So those properties stay intact. Because what happens if that was his only property value, the kids would have to fire sale it, right, and probably sell it at a discount. Yeah. So they can get the cash to pay off the estate. So this is, by the way, if you have estate tax problems, you got good problems. Yeah. You got good problems. Speaking of good problems, this might be a bad problem. Let's take a look here at the cost of. Let's see here. The cost of, is it come up on my screen? No, it's not going to come up on this one. The cost of McDonald's. Here we go. Jordan, can you do me a favor? My screen, please. So this is there was a happening. McDonald's price increases. This is what McDonald's prices for what? A cheeseburger, let's look at a Big Mac. End of 2019 price, Big Mac was $3.99, all the way to the left. Middle of the screen, mid 2024 price. Cost of a Big Mac, $7.49.
87% increase, almost 90%.
What's inflation? Inflation is at 4%, 5%, as high as $9. McChicken, $1.29, it's $3.89, 201% increase. So not only is it good for you nutritionally, it's not good for you financially. Yeah. Taco Bell. What was your order at Taco Bell?
Cheese gordita crunch.
Yeah. Mine was the Mexican pizza.
The Mexican pizza.
All right. Let's look at the crunch wrap. $3.49 for a crunch wrap. End of 2019 price $3.49. Mid 2024 price $5.29. 51% increase at Taco Bell. Oh, what about let's look at Chick-fil-A. We had a manager at Chick-fil-A at our office last night. Okay. I can tell other things. He's been with them for 14 years. It's my pleasure. My pleasure. As you're saying that, right? Deluxe chicken sandwich, 2019 price, $3.65. Double, right? $6.55.
Yeah, more than double.
Doubles in price. 79.5% increase. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just curious about from a trainer standpoint, what would you order if worse came worse? Like I was hungry, I hadn't ate all day, but I got to go work out later on tonight with you. From a Chick-fil-A, man, what would you order?
From a Chick-fil-A menu. The deluxe chicken sandwich, make that grilled, no mayo, just lettuce and the tomato. And if you can do half the bun, do only half the bun. And if you do condiments, make it just to be the basic ketchup or mustard.
Okay.
No fries.
Okay, there it is.
No fries on the side.
But what about Taco Hell?
The Taco Hell. Bro, when you used to order Taco Bell, did you get the runs as well? Or is that just some people?
No, I've never gotten runs with Taco Bell.
All right, for the people looking into Taco Bell, cheese and bean, rice, burrito, beef 5 layer. What's 5 layer? That's the cheese, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah,
cheese.
Yeah.
I would, if I were you guys, I get the Crunch Wrap Supreme. The Crunch Wrap Supreme is that's just a hard shell tortilla. The beef, the lettuce, the tomato, and a small amount of sour cream. You just ask for that on the side, so you can do half the portion.
Okay.
And what do we got from McDonald's?
Yeah, if you got to order at McDonald's, what do you got to order? If I'm on a run, bro, I haven't ate all day, about to go to the gym. What do I get from McDonald's? I'm putting you to task right now, man.
Yeah, this is good. If you're extremely hungry, really hungry, you're a big guy, and you're trying to keep your muscle mass on, you do one or two things. You do, because the cheeseburger and the Big Mac are the same exact thing, except they have a third bun right in the middle. I do the cheeseburger with double patty. You can't do cheese. If you're lactose, do no cheese. Do all the condiments on the side, and do the pickles and the lettuce that they have on there. Yep. And if you're going to do fries, if you're really craving fries, and you're going to work out on a bigger muscle group like legs, then you can get like a small fry on the side. As a snack, look, man, at the end of the day, some chicken nuggets are chicken nuggets, and they're freaking delicious.
Well, this is how a construction worker responds to inflation complainers. Can we take a look at that one clip of a construction worker complaining to complainers?
Bro, if I gotta hear one more person complain about inflation, I'm gonna lose my mind. Bro, coffee's this, gas is that, I pay $5 for a bit. Bro, shut the up. Bro, stop buying it. It's that simple. Just stop paying for it. If a basil's too expensive, go buy dough and make it yourself. Make a cup of coffee at home. Please shut the up. I don't care how expensive it is. Spend your money, stop being cheap.
All right, so the point there is, hey, this is life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Find a better economical way to do things. Because listen, in good times, you are trapped by your conveniences.
Yeah.
So now you gotta, get up earlier, maybe 5 minutes more, make your own cup of coffee instead of extra Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
Make your own damn coffee, and start making your own. Back in the day, there was no let's go out for lunch. It's did you pack your lunch?
He said back in the day. It was like 40 years ago. This was like 10 years ago.
You pack your lunchbox.
Yeah.
So, by the way, what I say is this. Okay, do all that, but start a side hustle.
Yeah.
And find a way to increase your income, because all those expensive, if you are spending money on gas, you're spending money on your car payment, you're spending money on internet, and you're spending money on cell phone. If you had some form of side hustle and you're growing those, you're growing those side hustles by spending money on food, car, those things I just mentioned, those are now tax deductible. So less money from your normal job is taken out of your gross pay. It goes back into your net pay, your take-home pay. So therefore, you can fund and finance other things to increase what you take home based on your gross pay. Now you can take home more of it. You increase your cash flow by creating a side hustle. Now you got more cash flow. That's how I've dealt with inflation for the rest of my life. And sadly, inflation affects those in the multicultural middle class and downward if you just think the same way. It's not necessarily what you make, but if you think the same way, you'll always be trapped up with inflation. So with that being said, man, what a show today, man.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
I like
that. Right through it.
I've never heard conversation with Harris. That was cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No kidding, man.
Yeah.
You got to meet him.
Stand-up guy, man.
Oh, for sure. Sure. That being said, guys, I want to know your thoughts, your questions, your feedback. You agree with us? You don't agree with us? Please put it in the comment section below. Every Wednesday here at noon Central Standard Time from Dallas, Texas, we do our 7-Figure Squad podcast, a podcast dedicated to help you think like a millionaire, strategize like a millionaire, and become a first-generation cash flow millionaire. That being said, see you next Wednesday. We got some interesting interviews coming up too as well, so make sure you stay posted to the 7-Figure Squad YouTube channel. And if you haven't done so already, pick up some merch here, baby. Shop.7figuresquad.com. Get you some merch. We just introduced some new sliders for those of you who want to show off your toes for the summer. Want to stay cool during the summer? It was hot here the last few days, huh?
It was definitely
in Texas, sticky, nasty. You should pick up some sliders, man. That being said, God bless you guys. We'll see you next week. Till we meet again, continue to love smart, continue to live smart, and be money smart today. Subscribe, like. See you next week. Bye-bye.